you can get a question about adding chart, and usually they'll say, choose the default. So default is whatever is selected. It's a column chart. Click OK, and the chart is showing up like this, and I can close this, which is Excel, and there's my chart. Now you see there is the chart tools, and you'll get some questions related to this. Now if you know this from Excel, you can pretty much answer this here because it's the same idea. So you can change the chart type to something else if they ask you a question. You can go back and edit your data. Now remember, anytime you don't know some of these things because you don't know where it is, you can try to right click and you might find some options, like you see change chart, edit data. So you might get the color options like shape fill, font options, size options. So you may see that. So edit data, you click it, it comes back to Excel, and I can change this number from 2.8 to 10. I can even call this Jan, Feb, March, and I'll close this, and you see the changes have happened. They'll also ask you questions about changing chart styles. They'll say make it style 35 or style 42. So you need to click on it. They might ask you questions about legend. This guy is known as legend, and they might say put the legend somewhere else. So you go to view, in the chart tools, you go to layout, and then legend, you say show legend at top. So now the legend is on the top. They might ask you to put a data table. So in the layout, data table, show data table. They might ask you questions about adding grid lines. Your grid lines, primary horizontal lines, and say show minor lines or major and minor lines. So if I say minor lines, now the minor lines are added. And if I want, I can change it to major and minor lines. You can add chart titles. So that I see whenever the question comes, the exam will allow you to look around till the time you go too far away from it, then they'll say okay, time's up. But they do allow you to look at a couple of different things. So this pretty much covers all the important elements. Remember, chart tools, design, and they have chart layouts right from here. So if you ask a question about chart layouts, they'll say, second column, second row. Make it that or something else. So you can change it according to that. I'm just going to come down to this table again. I just added a table quickly because I remembered a question. They asked a question about adding a formula. So there were some numbers on the top and they want you to put a sum formula here. I've never tried this. Under layout in the table tools, there's an option for formula, and then up here you can type sum bracket, and then you can choose the range. Now what happened in the exam was that right here it had the wordings above. That's the way it was there, and I just had to click OK. Okay, so there are some different options, but I think this did the job. If it puts 0, but let's see if I put 1, 2, 3. Did it do the summation? Let me try it one more time. Formula. Yeah, it did it. So I had never tried this. This is something new I learned today. Okay. Alright, so moving on. Under insert, say I highlight my name, I can insert a hyperlink, and I can give a website address. So I'll just put simpletech.ca and I'll click OK. Now that's the link that if I hold Control and I press it, it will take you to that link. So insert hyperlink. You can also insert a bookmark. So say up here I'll insert a bookmark. I'll give it a name and I click add. So that bookmark is added here. Now I'll come down, say to on the next page, click here, and I want to cross-reference it, which can refer to a bookmark. So I think the question usually is a bookmark, but you can reference to a lot of different things. So I'll click here, and you see it's asking me what do you want to reference to. I say bookmark, and there is the name that I created. And insert reference to bookmark text or a page number. So whatever they ask you. So if I hit page number, I'll click insert, close it. You see the number is showing up there. If I hold the control key and I click it, it will take me to where the bookmark is. So you might see a question about bookmarks. You might see questions about headers and footers. So if they say put the 3-column header, or they'll say put the annual header or a austere header. So you need to look for it and find the one that they want you to put. So just look for it and you'll find it. They might ask you to put a footer. Same thing. They'll say pick one of these. They'll give you the name for it. They might ask you to put a page number, and they'll say put it on the bottom of the page. And again, they'll give you the format that they want you to use for the page numbers. Okay. And you can also format page numbers, and you can choose the kind of page numbers you want to use. And you can also say that if you wanted to start it from a certain number. So that's inserting headers and footers. So I'll just show you one. Click here. I'm into headers and footers, and I can type a title there. And I can close the header and footer. I can double click on it to go back to editing it. So insert header footers. I've done a video where I talk a little bit more details about these, where you can have different headers on different places, and so if you want to, it's a good thing that you watch all those other videos so you are better prepared for it, and this just adds extra elements to it. You can also insert WordArt, and they'll tell you like use gradient fill blue or some name. They'll tell you, so you just need to pick it, and then it's added. Now again, there is a tool for it, and they might ask you to do rotations or something like that. So just need to be careful. They might say send it backward, so you might want to do that. Bring it forward, and you see here I can get these options, but in the exam you don't. So you need to be careful here. You might also get options to ungroup. So you right click on it, and you might get the option to ungroup sometimes in the right click. See, the group is there because I haven't ungrouped it yet, but let's see if I can ungroup here. This one we don't have the option, that's why. But you'll see in some questions you'll get it, so you can try to right click and you'll get the answers. Even the sending to back and things like that. Inserting a caption. I'm just going to delete that. So insert WordArt. Drop caps are, say for example, I'll click here. I can add a drop cap. You see the T in the paragraph? So that's called the drop cap in the margins. None. You can insert date and time. Pick whatever dates you want, and you can also update automatically, which means if I open this file tomorrow, it will be tomorrow's date. Where did my date go? Went there on the bottom. You can insert equations. You can also insert symbols. Symbols are special types, you know, TM, trademark, copyright with circle, or sometimes they might ask you some symbols, so you may have to go to more symbols and then find it and then insert. Make sure you click on it, and then you have to hit insert and then close it. Only then it is done. Otherwise you've got the answer wrong if you just went to it. So this finishes the insert tab. Let's come to page layout. So page layout, the first thing you may get a question about is adding a theme. So there's themes, and they'll tell you that use the clarity or composite or concourse. So you just click it and that theme is applied, which affects the fonts, the headings, certain colors. So you see the font has changed. If I go to a different theme, you see again it has changed a little. And they might say that the theme is this, but the color is use Apex. So you need to click on it. And you'll find those type of words. But as soon as you see the word themes, you know you need to look for that section because that's where the options would be. You'll get questions about margins. They'll say change normal to narrow margin or narrow to normal. You can even customize your margins. So you can choose exactly what you want. You can change the orientation from portrait to landscape. Now to show you the benefit of the page break. So if you remember, I had put a page break between page 2 and 3. So this is page 3. I'll click on it. And I'll click in the page setup more button. I'll make it landscape and look on the bottom in this section where it says this point forward. I think the breaks didn't work well, so I need to show you one more thing. I've never tried it with that break, so let me fix this problem first. It should have worked, but for some reason it doesn't. So I'll just come here, go to home, show and hide the break. I'll delete it. So you see when I deleted the break, everything came back up. But here in the page layout, I'm going to put a different type of a break. So I'll go to breaks and I'll say put a next page break. Next page break means everything that after that line will be starting on a new page. And I've got my 4th video talks about this, 20 minutes talks about this. And you'll get a question where they'll say put a continuous break or they'll say put a column break. So you just need to go here because the information would already be highlighted. So if I click next page, now you'll find there is a next page break. Now when I come here and I click on the page setup more, I'll click landscape and you see now I get the option called this section, and this is what I was looking for. For some reason that page break didn't give me that option. So this section I click OK. Now you see this page is landscape. I'll go to print preview and hit the minus sign to reduce it. So 2 pages are portrait, 1 page is landscape. Click on home. In 2007, once you come to print preview, you can click on the X. Now everything after this will be automatically be landscape because it's continuing it. So if I want it, then I'll have to put a break here again between 3 and 4, and then I make the 4 portrait, so then it will be portrait after that. So I can remove the show and hide. So that was page layout, adding breaks and orientations. You can also get a question about columns. So if I highlight this lines, columns, make it 2. So it splits into 2. This is a very good thing for resumes. So you can actually have things in 2 different sections, so it saves you space. You can, in the page layout, you can add watermarks. Watermarks are like confidential and things like that in the background. You can also go to custom watermark and you can choose a text watermark, type whatever you want in there. So that will be in the background of the paper. You can also include a picture watermark and just select the picture. And it is automatically washed out because it's going in the background. It doesn't need to take away your text. You can insert page colors. You can add page borders. You want a box, whatever line you want, whatever thickness you want. Click OK. Page borders, none. You can also put arcs. Page border, you can make it none. And you can again get the options about where you want to apply. Once you have breaks, you can have control over it. Okay, there is nothing else left in page layout. Let's go to the next section for references. So usually the questions that you will get is inserting a table of contents. So when you get that question, you know that you need to come to the references, you click on table of contents and you apply it. Now I'm not going to explain about table of contents. You can watch my video number 3 or 4 which talks about table of contents and how to use it. Basically you have to apply the headings to different sections, titles, and they'll automatically show up in your table of contents. But that's the answer to it. Adding footnotes, if you get questions about that. Inserting citations, when you're writing a thesis paper, research paper, you want to add a source. So I want to add a source here. I've done a video for that too, and I can say I've got it from a book section. Now I need to type the name of the author, the name of the book, and whatever information, the year, city, publisher, and then click OK. And it puts the information there. Now when I go to my last page, so if I come here, and if I want, I can add a bibliography. So all these citations I've added, and they will tell you which bibliography to use, the 1 number or 2 number. Now we see it puts that here for me. So all I have to do is keep doing this, and then later on I can keep on updating it if I go back and add things. Captions, I haven't seen much questions about it. That is when you have a picture, you can put a caption underneath it. Alright, so that's it. We'll come to mailings. In the mailings, you may get a questions about, they'll say create an envelope. So you click on envelopes. This is for single envelopes, not mail merge, single envelopes. And then you put the delivery address. You can go to options. You can choose the size of the envelope, and then you click OK. And then you hit print. You can also put the return address. If they ask you questions about labels, then you need to, on the mailings, you come to labels, and then you put the label option, the address of the label, and you want to go to the options because there are different types of labels, so they'll tell you what kind of labels these are. So you pick the ones that you want, the number, whatever number they give you, you click OK, and then you click on print in the exam. But up here, if I want to see it, I can click on new document, and here you see it will show me according to the page. It will be automatically there. Okay, so that's labels, and I can go ahead and put something there. So there it is. Now the question you could get is about mail merge. So I've got a video that talks about it. To start the mail merge, you can start directly from letters, but I prefer to do it step by step. And the questions I usually see is they'll say that in this place, go ahead and insert a merge field. So you need to go and watch my video because it will take 15-20 minutes for me to explain to you properly, but I've got a video dedicated to it, and there are 5 to 6 different type of questions they could ask you, so you need to watch that video. But the simplest form of question is that you'll be clicked somewhere and they'll say insert the merge field, so you click here and then choose the merge field they want you to add here, and that's it. And then they'll say insert the merge field and then preview the results. So you'll see this preview result will be activated because I don't have a mail merge, so it's not activated. I just paused the video and quickly created this. So I've already started the basic steps for the mail merge. So if I wanted to insert a field, I click here and I choose, say, first name space last name. I'm just clicking on the drop down button, company name, address line. So I can do that. I can even preview the result so that it fills up the names which I've already typed. Okay. If they ask you somewhere where they want you to say add an address block, you can just use this, and then you can choose what kind of address block you want, and it puts it there. If I hit preview, it fills up everything, and then I can just hit finish and merge. So usually you'll see these type of questions in mail merge. So mailings tab is done. We'll come to the review tab. The review tab, you can start spelling and grammar. So I always like to be at the top of my documents when I'm starting spelling and grammar. In the test, it could start from anywhere, but they'll say start the spelling check. So you click review and you click spelling and grammar. And then you go through it. And this one I need to change. Atlanta I need to change. First name, I'll say ignore all, ignore all. Spelling check is complete. And you'll get a question sometimes which will tell you that you need to see the readability statistics. For you to see readability statistics, you need to turn it on, and you will see the statistics right after you run the spell check. So to start the readability statistics, you click on File, which in 2000 you'll click on the Office button, and I need to go on Options. Now in Office 2007, you will see Word to Options button around here somewhere. So, but once you click it, you'll get this option here. And you need to go to Proofing, and in the Proofing, look for a section that will show you Show Readability Statistics, and then you click OK. Now if I run the spell check and I click OK, now there is my readability statistics about passive sentences, reading ease, grade level. So it's just figuring out different things. So you might want to be ready for this question about readability statistics. So you go to the Office button in 2007, and then you click on Word Options. You go to Proofing, and then you choose Show Readability Statistics. Now while we are in this option here, in 2007 when you click on General, in here you'll see a option to check mark which will say Show Developer tab. So it will allow you to see the Developer tab, which has some special buttons in there, but you'll see a question about it. In 2010, which is what I'm using, I'll have to go to Customize Ribbon, and I have to put a check mark in that option for the Developer tab. If you wanted to try something in Office 2010, you can actually create your own tab. See, I've got my own tab, and in here I can add my own buttons, and I can create more groups so I can customize it as I want it, this tab section, and I can get whatever buttons I want. And click here and choose all commands, and then go through whatever buttons I want, add it to my, drag it to my section. I'll just hit cancel here. So you see I've got the Developer tab, so you'll get a question about that, most probably, maybe not. You may get a question about word count, how many words, statistics, which is under review, or if you look in the bottom next to the page number there is words. So you click it, you get the same section. You might get a questions about adding comments. So if you have highlighted something, it will be highlighted in the test. You click on New Comment under Review, and then up here you just write. And you can highlight, and you can choose to delete the comment. You might have heard about what's called track changes. Track changes means, say if you wrote a resume and you email it to somebody, you can turn on the track changes and send it to them. So when they make changes, you will be able to see what changes they've made, and you will be able to decide which changes to allow, which changes not to allow. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn on track changes under Review, track changes. Now the track changes is on because you see it's turned yellow. Now say if I highlight this and I type, so you see it's tracking it. If I hit delete, it just did the delete part. If I make any changes to the font, it will make a note. So track changes the person will keep and do all these changes, and now when you get it, you decide to go through it. So I can go through this accept options. So I click it. Now you see it's highlighting the first change, and I can say, do I want this? I'll say reject and move to the next, and then I can say next. Now it highlights, and I can say Friday. Do I want it to be deleted? I'll say accept and move to next. Now it highlights this comment, I think, something. So I can say reject, move to the next. It highlights whether I want the font to be different. I'll say accept, move to the X, and the document's done. So that's turning on track changes and then going through accepting and rejecting. You may get a questions about turning on the reviewing pane. They'll say vertical, and you'll get this vertical pane showing you all the stuff that has been changed. Turn it off. You might get a question about that, make this document final. So you have to come to review, and in here you just say show me final. I don't want the markup, I want the final, because sometimes you might find that if you've done track changes, the lines are continuously showing when you are printing it, so you need to make it final. And you can also turn off track changes by pressing here. You might get a questions about comparing documents. So if you have two different versions of a document, you can use this compare option, and it will like check both of them, and then you can decide where the changes are, which to accept and to merge it. And you can also take two different documents and merge it into one. You might get a questions about password protection or restricting editing or just not allowing formatting. So under review, there is an option here, restrict editing. You will see that same option in 2007, but you may have to click it and you'll see an option underneath called formatting or something. So you click that option and then you will get this button. Now I can say formatting restrictions, I can say limited, and I can say start enforcing it. So usually the questions are about limiting formatting. If there was other things, you can choose these options too if it asks for it. So that's why it's important to understand the question. So that finishes the review section. I can come to view, and in the view I want to talk about what is called splitting a cell. So say for example, I'll click here and I can use split, and I can move where I want the split. So say if I put it here, now when I scroll down, you see that section stays there because I'm using the split. I can remove the split, so now it's back to normal. Now under view, you see the option to record a macro. So you can do it from here, or in the developer tab you can record a macro. Okay. So the questions are usually very simple. They just want to create a simple macro, nothing complicated. So I can go to view, record macro, give it a name. So they'll call it whatever. So I'll just say Amir's macro. They'll give you the name, keyboard. Oh, I put an apostrophe, I think. So that won't work. Click keyboard. And I need to give it a shortcut. So say I say the shortcut will be Alt C, whatever you want, and then I can click assign. And then click close. Now I need to start recording the macro. So they might say type a number, or say I want to highlight something and then start formatting it. So say if I type something, now I need to go to macros and I need to stop the macro. Now if I click here and I click on macros, view, choose that macro, click run, you see it puts that number for me. So usually the questions are simple. So you can record a macro and you can run a macro. So this pretty much covers the exhaustive questions that you may come across, which I pretty much try to cover as much as I can. And in the question, don't get confused when they say that do this but don't change the view. When they say that, it doesn't mean that you cannot go to a different tab. What it means is that if you look on the right hand side bottom, you got these buttons here. These are the different views. So they don't want you to go to view and then change the view to a different view and then try to make some changes. So you see this in many different places. So they don't want you to do that, but you can go to different tabs. Thank you for watching. Hope this was useful. Font options, size options. So you may see that. So edit data, you click it, it comes back to Excel, and I can change this number from 2.8 to 10. I can even call this Jan, Feb, March, and I'll close this, and you see the changes have happened. They'll also ask you questions about changing chart styles. They'll say make it style 35 or style 42. So you need to click on it. They might ask you questions about legend. This guy is known as legend, and they might say put the legend somewhere else. So you go to view, in the chart tools, you go to layout, and you can get a question about adding chart. And usually they'll say, choose the default. So default is whatever is selected. It's a column chart. Click OK. And the chart is showing up like this. And I can close this, which is Excel. And there's my chart. Now you see there is the chart tools. And you'll get some questions related to this. Now if you know this from Excel, you can pretty much answer this here because it's the same idea. So you can change the chart type to something else if they ask you a question. You can go back and edit your data. Now remember, anytime you don't know some of these things because you don't know where it is, you can try to right click and you might find some options, like you see change chart, edit data. So you might get the color options like shape fill. Then legend, you say show legend at top. So now the legend is on the top. They might ask you to put a data table. So in the layout, data table, show data table. They might ask you questions about adding grid lines. Grid lines, primary horizontal lines, and say show minor lines or major and minor lines. So if I say minor lines, now the minor lines are added. And if I want, I can change it to major and minor lines. You can add chart titles. So that I see whenever the question comes, the exam will allow you to look around till the time you go too far away from it, then they'll say, okay, time's up. But they do allow you to look at a couple of different things. Right here, it had the wordings above. That's the way it was there, and I just had to click OK. Okay. So there are some different options, but I think this did the job. If it puts 0, but let's see if I put 1, 2, 3. Did it do the summation? Let me try it one more time. Formula. Yeah, it did it. So I had never tried this. This is something new I learned today. Okay. Alright, so moving on. Under insert, say I highlight my name, I can insert a hyperlink. So this pretty much covers all the important elements. Remember chart tools, design, and they have chart layouts right from here. So if you ask a question about chart layouts, they'll say, second column, second row. Make it that or something else. So you can change it according to that. I'm just going to come down to this table again. I just added a table quickly because I remembered a question. They asked a question about adding a formula. So there were some numbers on the top and they want you to put a sum formula here. I've never tried this. Under layout in the table tools, there's an option for formula. And then up here, you can type sum, bracket, and then you can choose the range. Now what happened in the exam was that